Okay, this is Wednesday night and I'm trimming up our Christmas dinner. We're gonna smoke this is about a 12-pound brisket, I believe it is. And we're gonna trim it up, get all that hard fat off of there, that stuff it won't render up, and we're gonna try to get it off of there and all. Now I'm not gonna separate the point from the flat at this time. We'll wait until after it smokes, makes it a lot easier, and you'll slip through that fat just like butter. You'll separate it, and we're going to slice up the flat, and then we're going to make burn ends out of the point. Now we're going to remove this much of this fat as we can off, and the silver skin if we can. We're going to do what we can to get it off. We won't be able to get it all off, but we'll get some of it off of there. And what little bit of extra meat I cut off, I'll put it in the freezer and grind it up into burger later. Now this brisket is well marbled throughout. It's going to be tender, and there's a layer of fat between the point and the flat, and it's going to render. It's going to make this brisket taste delicious, and then once this is done, I will be able to slice that point and flat, separating them with ease. Work on this side a little bit more, getting this fat off and everything, then we'll turn it over. Now when I smoke this, I'm going to smoke it with the fat side down. Now I've done it both ways, fat side up, fat side down. I can't tell the difference. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to cook it with or smoke it with the fat side down, and then when I wrap it, I'm going to put the fat side up and put it back in there, and then when it reaches its 200-degree internal, we're going to pull it off and let it rest, and then we're going to separate the point from the flat. Now my go-to seasonings for this brisket is kosher salt and pepper, and both of them coarse salt, coarse pepper, and that's about it. I'll finish this side up with the coarse pepper, and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Okay, it's time to get this thing wrapped, and then we're going to place it in the refrigerator until the next day, and we'll smoke it. Okay, we have it in the smoker. We have a probe in the thickest part of the brisket, and we're going to be looking for an internal temperature of 200 degrees, but when we get to about 160, we'll wrap it. I'll use a temperature of 250 degrees, and we're using hickory and apple mix to smoke this with. Okay, the temperature set at 250, we're at 240 now. Okay, it's been on the smoker for about 3 hours now, and it's really looking good. Give it a little spritz with water, and that's all I'm using is just water. Okay, it's time to take it out and wrap it. It has reached an internal temperature of 160 degrees. Now we're going to put it in the tin foil, but we're going to flip it over. We're going to put the fat side up now. Okay, we commence wrapping. Now this is a pretty good sized brisket, and took a little wrapping to get it all. I had was tin foil. That's really all I ever use. But we get it all wrapped up, and we set it in the back in the smoker, and now the fat side will be up. And we got our probe back in there, and we're going to be watching for an internal temperature of 200. Well, by now you can probably tell it is dark outside, having to use the old iPhone flashlight. Okay, we have reached an internal temperature of 200 degrees. We pulled it off. We have it in the house and it's resting right now. And we trimmed the point from the flat. We put the point over in another pan. Well, we started out cutting it, slicing it with the fat side up. I just pulled it over and put it on the cutting board. Cut the ends off of it, or the end, and we'll turn it over now and continue slicing this other side. As you can tell, we've already sliced several pieces off of it. But look at that smoke ring. That is a nice smoke ring. Slice this thing in two and make shorter pieces. My others were almost as wide as my cutting board, so almost as long as the blade is on that knife, which is a little more than 12 inches. I think it's like 13 inches there. So made it a little easier there. Get it cut up though, and I tell you what, it's really turned out great. Okay, we're going to slice this point up, and about 1 inch thick slices, and then we're going to cube them, and we're going to make burn ends out of this point. And we'll baste them with the juices left, with the fat separated from it, and mix some barbecue sauce in with it, baste them, and put them back in for a few minutes to caramelize. This is Christmas Day. Now we're going to prepare 3 sides of ribs. And we'll get them trimmed up and the membrane pulled off, and we'll get them seasoned up, and we'll place them in the smoker. Now this excess I'm taking off the trimmings is going to be placed in the freezer, and later I'll make sausage or snack sticks out of it in the future. And we'll get this membrane pulled off. And I'll speed up the process just a little bit here. Now we'll add some Head Country original seasoning to these ribs. We'll place that on there. We'll put it on both sides. And then the next seasoning I put on is my own mixture. I put it in this container, but it's basically paprika, kosher salt, chili powder, black pepper, onion, garlic, salt, brown sugar, and just a light dusting with the seasoning Slap Your Mama. And we prepare and do the same with the next 2 sides of ribs. A little non-stick on the racks there, on the grates, and we'll place them ribs inside there. I'm going to put one on the top shelf and one on the second shelf there. This thing holds 5 shelves, 2 good-sized racks of ribs per shelf will fit on 5 shelves. Of course, we don't ever cook that many. I have cooked up to 4 though, I believe. Hey, just a little tip. I cover my grit pan or water pan with foil to help on the cleanup process. And the pan itself, if you notice, if you have this type of smoker and this pan, it has little air vents around the pan itself. So when you cover it with foil, open them vents through the foil, and that'll help the air that builds from the heat under the foil work out, instead of sitting there making the tin foil on the bottom move, trying to find a way to get the air out. And if you make them little slits around the top edge, you won't have that problem. Looking good and holding steady at 225. Now these ribs have been on there for 3 hours. They look good. We've spritzed them throughout. Now it's time to take them out and wrap them. Now I'm placing my butter down. I'm going to put brown sugar down, and I'm going to place the meat side down. And then we're going to do the same thing to the bone side of the ribs. Now we add more butter, and then we'll add more brown sugar to this side. We do all three sides the same, and we'll place them back in the smoker for about 40 to 45 minutes, and then they'll be ready. Now we have done the 3-2-1 method, but we prefer doing 3 hours with the ribs in the smoker, taking them out, wrapping them, placing them back in for about 40 to 45 minutes. Now this is at 225 degrees. They turn out wonderful. Look at these ribs, look at the juice that come off of them. All three sides of these ribs turned out juicy, tender. I tell you, you couldn't ask for any better ribs. This is how we do it. We don't do the 3-2-1. This is how we do it. And however you decide to do it, I'm sure they'll be great and taste great. Hey, we're going to speed this up a little bit. And this is what we prepared for our Christmas dinner. I want to thank each and every one for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hey, give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to, leave a comment. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope you consider subscribing. Thank each and every one again for watching. Remember the reason for the season in our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you. And God bless.